Section 5 of a Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Nicholas James Bridgewater. A Traveller's Narrative, written to illustrate the episode of the Bab, by Abdul-Baha Abbas, translated by Edward Granville Browne. Section 5. Now, this people had not yet acquired such knowledge as was right and needful of the fundamental principles and hidden doctrines of the Bab's teachings, and did not recognize their duties. Their conceptions and ideas were after the former fashion, and their conduct and behavior in correspondence with ancient usage. The way of approach to the Bab was, moreover, closed, and the flame of trouble visibly blazing on every side. At the decree of the most celebrated of the doctors, the government, and indeed the common people, had, with irresistible power, inaugurated rapine and plunder on all sides, and were engaged in punishing and torturing, killing and despoiling, in order that they might quench this fire and wither these poor souls. In towns where these were but a limited number, all of them, with bound hands, became food for the sword, while in cities where they were numerous, they arose in self-defense agreeably to their former beliefs, since it was impossible for them to make inquiry as to their duty, and all doors were closed. In Mazandaran, amongst other places, the people of the city of Barfurush, at the command of the chief of the lawyers, the Siyyid Alí-Muhammad, made a general attack on Mullah Hussein of Bushruyeh and his followers, and slew 6 or 7 persons. They were busy compassing the destruction of the rest also, when Mullah Hussein ordered the azan to be sounded, and stretched forth his hand to the sword, whereupon all sought flight, and the nobles and lords coming before him with the utmost penitence and deference agreed that he should be permitted to depart. They further sent with them as a guard Khosrow of Qadi Kala, with horsemen and footmen, so that, according to the terms of the agreement, they might go forth safe and protected from the territory of Mazandaran. When they, being ignorant of the fords and paths, had emerged from the city, Khosrow dispersed his horsemen and footmen and set them in ambush in the forest of Mazandaran, scattered and separated the Babis in that forest, on the road and off the road, and began to hunt them down singly. When the reports of muskets arose on every side, the hidden secret became manifest, and several wanderers and other persons were suddenly slain with bullets. Mullah Hussein ordered the azan to be sounded to assemble his scattered followers, while Mirza Lutf Ali, the secretary, drew his dagger and ripped open Khosrow's vitals. Of Khosrow's host, some were slain and others wandered distractedly over the field of battle. Mullah Hussein quartered his host in a fort near the burial place of Sheikh Tabarsi, and, being aware of the wishes of the community, relaxed and interrupted the march. This detachment was subsequently further reinforced by Mirza Muhammad Ali of Mazandaran, with a number of other persons, so that the garrison of the fort numbered 313 souls. Of these, however, all were not capable of fighting, only 110 persons being prepared for war. Most of them were doctors or students whose companions had been during their whole life books and treatises. Yet, in spite of the fact that they were unaccustomed to war or to the blows of shot and sword, 4 times were camps and armies arrayed against them, and they were attacked and hemmed in with cannons, muskets and bombshells, and on all 4 occasions they inflicted defeat, while the army was completely routed and dispersed. On the occasion of the 4th defeat, Abbás Quli Khan of Lawrijan was captain of the forces, and Prince Mahdi Quli Mirza commander in the camp. The Khan above mentioned used at nights to conceal and hide himself in disguise amongst the trees of the forest outside the camp, while during the day he was present in the encampment. The last battle took place at night, and the army was routed. The Babis fired the tents and huts, and night became bright as day. The foot of Mullah Hussein's horse caught in a noose, for he was riding, the others being on foot. Abbás Quli Khan recognized him from the top of a tree afar off, and with his own hand discharged several bullets. At the 3rd shot he threw him from his feet. He was borne by his followers to the fort, and there they buried him. Notwithstanding this event, the troops could not prevail by superior force. At length the prince made a treaty and covenant, and swore by the holy Imams, confirming his oath by vows plighted on the glorious Qur'an, to this effect: "You shall not be molested. Return to your own places." Since their provisions had for some time been exhausted, so that even of the skins and bones of horses naught remained, and they had subsisted for several days on pure water, they agreed. When they arrived at the army, food was prepared for them in a place outside the camp. They were engaged in eating, having laid aside their weapons and armor, when the soldiers fell on them on all sides and slew them all. Some have accounted this valor displayed by these people as a thing miraculous. But when a band of men are besieged in some place where all avenues and roads are stopped and all hope of deliverance is cut off, they will assuredly defend themselves desperately and display bravery and courage. In Zanjan and Nayriz, likewise, at the decree of erudite doctors and notable lawyers, a bloodthirsty military force attacked and besieged. In Zanjan the chief was Mullah Muhammad Ali, the Mujtahid, while in Nayriz Siyyid Yahya of Dawrab was the leader and arbiter. At first they sought to bring about a reconciliation, but meeting with cruel ferocity, they reached the pitch of desperation, and the overpowering force of the victorious troops having cut off every passage in flight, they unclosed their hands in resistance. But although they were very strong in battle, and amazed the chiefs of the army by their steadfastness and endurance, the overwhelming military force closed the passage of flight and broke their wings and feathers. After numerous battles, they too at last yielded to covenants and compacts, oaths and promises, vows registered on the Qur'an, and the wonderful stratagems of the officers, and were all put to the edge of the sword. Were we to occupy ourselves in detail with the wars of Nayriz and Zanjan, or to set forth these events from beginning to end, this epitome would become a bulky volume. So, since this would be of no advantage to history, we have passed them over briefly. During the course of the events which took place at Zanjan, the Prime Minister devised a final and trenchant remedy. without the royal command, without consulting with the ministers of the subject protecting court, he, acting with arbitrary disposition, fixed determination, and entirely on his own authority, issued commands to put the Bab to death. This befell in brief as follows. The governor of Azerbaijan, Prince Hamzeh Mirza, was unwilling that the execution of this sentence should be at his hands, and said to the brother of the Emir, Mirza Hasan Khan, "This is a vile business and an easy one. Anyone is capable and competent. I had imagined that His Excellency the Regent would commission me to make war on the Afghans or Uzbeks, or appoint me to attack and invade the territory of Russia or Turkey." So Mirza Hasan Khan wrote his excuse in detail to the Emir. End of section 5.